reason that the DivestInvest effort has been successful, it has a sound financial rationale, and the fossil fuel sector does not.
The current risk is the carbon bubble that exists out there. It's a pretty substantial risk at this point to investors.
Why would we own industries that are liable to be sued as the world realizes the seriousness of climate change? Divesting is prudent. That's a risk-reducing way to avoid quite a long list of potential problems, from lawsuits to loss of business.
Those who stand on the sidelines are increasingly complicit. We further call on investors to commit at least 5% of their portfolios to climate solutions.
The invest side is critical because that's where the transition is going to take place. You know, as we go from burning a petrochemical molecule to produce an electron to using renewable sources to produce that electron, this is going to be the largest wealth generating opportunity of this generation. So it's very important that you're investing in those solutions now to take advantage of that benefit and divesting from the risk.
It's a simple question of looking at the evidence. I think that message is starting to cut through as the economics of clean energy continues to improve.
The reason I don't invest in fossil fuels is because it gives bond-like returns with equity-like risk over the last 5 and 10 years. So from a fiduciary approach, where's my risk return from that perspective? There are no barriers for a manager to come out with a fossil-free fund. The only barrier actually is their own understanding of the issue. More and more managers are coming up with products that meet that because the demand is there for that. They're beginning to see that the returns actually associated with owning that sector of the S&P don't give them the reward. It actually hurts return rather than helps return. Yes, managers need to be doing more, and yes, clients need to be demanding more of their financial advisors and of managers to give them better opportunities to invest.
The fall of the fossil fuel sector from the world's leading industry to the slowest growing industry is a massive change that is only now being recognized.
Companies like Shell now note divestment as a material threat to their business, with the potential to impact stock price and limit access to capital.
The problem is they were once the leader of our world economy, and while we've seen some recovery in the oil and gas sector lately, they will never be at their premier position again. Oil and gas and coal stocks have a declining investor base. 1990, it constituted 16% of the Standard & Poor's 500. Today, it constitutes under 6%. They used to be what was considered a blue chip stock, sound, stable, long-term investments. They are now a much more speculative kind of investment, more like a commodity where they go up and down, and it has so much risk in it now that I don't believe any institutional investors should find that risk acceptable.
Banks and insurance companies themselves are becoming much wiser to the risks associated with fossil fuels. I absolutely hold to the view that as the world moves more and more to a trajectory consistent with Paris, the value at risk for the fossil fuel industry is absolutely enormous, and yes, it runs into tens of trillions of dollars over the next 2 to 3 decades.
The Paris Agreement, do not forget the significance of this, because it has pointed the way to a world that is united in taking action. All 195 nations of the world are committed.
The important thing here is that every investment committee I have ever met, and I've probably met a couple of thousand, have maintained that if you so much as cough, you will ruin their performance. If you take anything out, it will ruin their performance. They must be completely free to buy everything, and that is simply an old wives' tale, or in this case, an old man's tale, because they're overwhelmingly male and have been forever. They're a very conservative group, and in this case, they happen to be absolutely wrong. If you decide to get out of energy, the best assumption is that it will be a matter of 10, 20, 25 basis points at most for the next 20 years, and it is just as likely to help you, says the data, as to hurt you.
It will take investing $1 trillion a year for 3 decades to keep this planet livable. But brothers and sisters, we can do it. We're investing in momentum for change.
We've reached a tipping point in terms of the economics. Everyone knows that climate change is probably the most urgent problem facing our species and the planet. What I think is less well known and less widely appreciated is that the economics of clean energies versus fossil fuel energies has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. So it's unstoppable in that sense that more and more investors are getting the message. It makes not only sense for the planet, but sense for your portfolio to be moving away from fossil fuels and towards the clean energies of the future.